Tiramisu is a layered dessert with some dried ladyfingers that are soaked in a potent combination of strong coffee and a little bit of rum. Then you have this creamy mascarpone layer that has some yolks, some sugar, and a little more rum. So it's like a pick-me-up. All right, so to get started, we're gonna make the dipping mixture for the ladyfingers. And so here I have 2/3 of a cup of water. And most recipes call for strong coffee, and then you make it even stronger by adding espresso. But because we're making a mini tiramisu, we're just gonna use all espresso powder. And the instant espresso powder, you can find at pretty much any market, and it's great to add to any chocolate dessert. It just makes chocolate taste chocolatier, but it's also crucial in tiramisu. So we need 2 tablespoons. To that, we're gonna add a tablespoon of dark rum. Oh, coffee and rum. You can smell it in the bowl. Just gonna whisk this together. All right, that is the dipping mixture for our ladyfingers. Next, we're gonna make the creamy component, which starts in a big old bowl. We're gonna start with 2 yolks. So the creamy component is mascarpone yolks, a little cream and sugar. Starting with the yolks, you wanna get them broken up and get them a little fluffy to start. So I'm gonna start it with a hand whisk, but eventually I'm gonna use an electric whisk just to help things really come together. So 2 yolks, wanna break them up. All right, to this I'm gonna add a pinch of salt and a 1/4 cup of sugar. You wanna whisk the sugar in. There we go. Now I'm just whisking this until it's nicely incorporated and starts to look a little fluffy and lighter in color. All right, next up, we're gonna add a tablespoon of rum. A little rum goes a long way in this dish. All right. All right, now time to add the mascarpone cheese. And you want 8 ounces of mascarpone, which is handy because they come in 8-ounce packages. So an entire package. All right, here's the mascarpone or mascarpone. I mispronounce mascarpone. Worcestershire sauce. There's another one. Notoriously mispronounce those things, but it's my house, so I can say it however I want. All right, so now to incorporate the cheese into the egg yolks, doing it by hand requires a little bit of muscle, so I'm gonna use an electric mixer. And this is handy because a stand mixer would just be too big for this small amount of food. We're just gonna incorporate it till it's nice and smooth and there's no chunks left. All right, that looks pretty good. Now we're gonna add some whipped cream and we're gonna mix the whipped cream into the mascarpone. And again, why use an electric mixer when a hand mixer does it even faster? I've actually timed myself. I can do this twice as fast as that mixer. It's such a small amount. Now the cream is cold, that helps. I have a really good whisk, a balloon whisk. That means it's shaped like a balloon at the end. That's for good whisking. And my method is just going back and forth. And by going back and forth against the bowl, you'll whip cream so much more quickly than if you go circulates or around and around the bowl. All right, so you just wanna whip it to a nice stiff peak. And there you go, that's pretty good. Now I'm gonna take 1/3 of this whipped cream mixture and stir it into the mascarpone. All right, now I'm gonna take the rest of the whipped cream and fold it in. So that first batch of whipped cream just helps to lighten up the heavy cheese so that you can retain some of the lift in this nice whipped cream so it's not so dense. You just wanna fold it together till there's no more streaks. All right, we're ready to assemble. So set that aside. Here are the ladyfingers. So they're not fresh ladyfingers like you'd find at the bakery. They're dried, they're hard. And this is exclusively what you use to make tiramisu. This is also called Savoiardi. If you ever see that on a package, that's what you're looking for. All right, so taking a ladyfinger, you're gonna drop it into this liquid, this potent coffee rum liquid. Leave it for there about 3 seconds, and you put it in the dish. So you want the ladyfingers to make a nice even layer, and sometimes that means breaking off small pieces so they fit into the dish. I make this a lot, so I know the last one on this layer needs to have a little bit taken off the edge. All right, there we have a nice even layer. Now I'm gonna add half of this creamy mascarpone mixture. That's good, that's about half. Now you wanna spread it out evenly over the soaked ladyfingers. All right, last but not least, we're gonna do a dusting of cocoa on top of that mixture. For that, a little sieve like this, a little strainer is perfect. You only need about a tablespoon of cocoa for the whole thing. So about half a tablespoon in there. You wanna shake it over the top. All right, time to make a second layer. And really how many lady fingers you need really depends on the shape and size of your dish. All right, time to add that second layer of the mascarpone. Spread it out nice and even. Topped with a little more cocoa. And this is unsweetened cocoa, which is another reason why I like this dessert. It's just not too sweet. There was just a little bit of sugar in with the mascarpone. So the key to this dish is letting it sit for at least 6 hours in the refrigerator. That just lets those lady fingers soften a bit more, let those flavors marry. You want to cover it, and that's another reason why I like this standard Pyrex dish. It comes with a lid. So into the refrigerator at least 6 hours, but you could do it up to 24 hours in advance. This tiramisu is ready to taste. And now you can see it's a small tiramisu, but it can feed 3 to 4 people, I'd say. And because it's very rich. So I'm just gonna pull out just a piece for myself, although it's a sizable piece. Now that is a perfect piece of tiramisu. You can see those lady fingers soaked up some of the moisture and they almost turn back into cake. You don't have to do this, but grating some fresh chocolate over the top is just fun. It's perfectly with coffee or a little sambuca if you're in the mood. That little zing of rum goes a long way. It's light, it's airy, it's not too sweet. Perfect tiramisu. See you next time. Thanks for watching. What'd you think? Leave a comment below and let me know what you're excited to cook this week. You can get today's recipes and more for free at our website.